Welcome to this session on hiring and retaining staff, lessons learned from local partners. My name is Catherine Brokenshire Scott, and I'm the project director for ASSA, which stands for Accelerating Support to Advanced Local Partners, which is a contract by USAID with IntraHealth to help local partners become successful primes. Our aim is to help local partners to learn and implement all of the USG rules and regulations, of which there are many: financial management compliance, fraud risk management, sub-award and grants management, human resources, business development, and strategic information. We support local partners directly by assessing your systems using a NUPUS Plus tool and tailoring capacity building activities to support local partners in award management and organizational development. We also conduct webinars on all of the topics that I mentioned previously in English, French, and Portuguese, and we have done 60 webinars, and they are all on our website. I will be posting the link for our website in the chat. Lastly, we've been helping USAID with this big meeting. We're very happy to support them again. Our numbers have doubled from last year, so every year we're growing. So on to the topic. So hiring and retaining staff is a critical component of successfully achieving PEPFAR targets. Many of you are managing rapid growth with sizable increased budgets requiring increasing the number of staff. For many local partners, this is a dream come true, and I know the USAID team is genuinely excited and wants to support you with the challenges you may be experiencing with rapid growth. So in this session, we will hear 2 presentations, and then we will have a Q&A session at the end. Could you please put your questions in the Q&A section so I can read them off at the end, or you can go off mute and ask the questions directly. So the 2 sessions we're going to hear today, the first is with Ms. Susana Lunga, the Regional Executive Director for Pan American Social Marketing Organization. And she will present their experience of transitioning from an international partner to a local regional partner. She has worked with PASMOS for the last 18 years in the areas of marketing, SBCC, and research, and overseeing these areas in Central American countries. From 2010 to 2020, she served as the Chief of Party of the USAID HIV/AIDS Combination Prevention Program in Central America and Mexico. And she was responsible for providing leadership, management, and oversight. From 2013 to 2020, Ms. Lunga was the Regional Deputy Director for PASMOS, and in 2020, she became the Regional Executive Director and the Chief of Party for the USAID Prevention Services Against HIV project in Central America. The second presenter is Mr. Simon Mbugua, who has 20 years experience in Sub-Saharan Africa with organizational change initiatives through organizational redesign, alignment of HR strategies to organizational development direction, and human resources responses to organizational change. Currently, he's working as the Human Resource Capacity Advisor with ASSA and conducts pre-award assessments for local NGOs using the NUPUS Plus tool, and then provides capacity building in the area of human resources. These services include strengthening the capacity of the NGO to address gaps identified in their governance, HR, and operational functions. And this includes drafting HR and administration policies, doing salary bands, doing everything HR that a local organization will need. He has also carried out a very large salary survey and benefits survey, which he will be presenting today. He looked at local partners, and the information will be very interesting. It was to me, and I'm sure it will be for all of you. So without further ado, I would like to turn it over to Ms. Susana Longo to do her presentation. And again, welcome everybody. And if you want to put your name and organization in the chat, we'd love to know who's joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine, and good morning to everyone. I'm really happy to be today with you and share our experience in terms of hiring and retaining staff. in PASMO as a local organization. Next one, please. I want to start telling you who we are. We are the Pan American Social Marketing Organization, PASMO. We are a local organization with branches and offices in Guatemala, Panama, Honduras, Nicaragua, and El Salvador is in process. We are currently an independent network member from Population Services International. Next one. Some history. PASMO was born just over 20 years ago in Central America in the context of a regional USAID-funded HIV prevention program. Over the last 20 years, PASMO has worked closely with our donors, including USAID. And more recently, there has been a strong push from donors to fund local organizations and build or strengthen local capacity to implement international funds effectively and efficiently. This means direct funding to local organizations, and that is why we became a local organization in April 2020. There are many benefits of being a fully local. As more funding opportunities arise and we have the opportunity to build our organization, team, our vision, moving forward based on local context and needs. But there are many challenges and questions that remain to be answered. And in our case, human resources has been one of the biggest challenges. Next one, please. Regarding our structure, PASMO implements the USAID Prevention Services Against HIV project in Central America. And as I mentioned before, with offices in 5 countries. Our current structure is of 71 collaborators, which include regional and local administrative, technical, and operational teams. Next one. And as I mentioned before, hiring and retaining staff is a challenge, including processes, recruitment, retention, and motivation. Each country has different legislation and processes to follow. And this is the first challenge that we have faced, to learn all these processes in the countries. However, recruiting is one of the most challenging areas. Remote recruiting, onboarding and training, a dispersed workforce, especially during COVID timing. And because of these COVID-19 restrictions, we have to adapt traditional processes to carry them out completely online, and everything had to happen really fast. And it has not been easy. The announcements, the interviews, the follow-up. So we started this fiscal year, last fiscal year with 67 employees and ended with 71. However, the total staff released was of 25, and we hired 28. For a 71 persons organizations, we have 31 recruitment processes in a year. And this represents a significant burden in time and effort. Next one. So retaining qualified personnel is another of the great challenges. And in these cases, the salary we can offer has been decisive. It has been difficult to compete with other projects, especially those implemented by international organizations, because their salary levels are higher and more attractive. And of the 25 staff released, 13 quit. And of those, around 70% of all these terminations were due to better opportunities and better salaries. And we have a 36% staff turnover rate. And for us, that was really, really high. Next one. And still in the challenges, and finally, motivation. Next one, please. Working everyone online makes it difficult, especially to integrate the team. In many cases, a new collaborator starts working at PASMO, but doesn't know their colleagues personally. So it is more challenging to build an organizational culture. And this is mainly due to COVID-19, and we hope that this will change soon. In a human resources survey that we carried out last year with all the staff from PASMO, a little more than half, 62%, expressed satisfaction with the salary received based on the position held. However, you just saw the reasons that we got in the exit interviews when people quit. As a recent organization, we are still in the process of strengthening our sustainability, and we depend 100% on the budgets of the projects we implement. And in most cases, donors do not cover the salaries or there are wage ceilings. So we are limited to these budgets, and generally incentives or other types of benefits are not fully covered. So we are starting, we are aware of the situation, and we need to work on this sustainability plan to improve this area. Additionally, next one, please. There are other challenges in terms of qualified staff. For us, languages. We need people fluent in English and Spanish. Most donors' communication is in English. And we need to work on this area too. Also, high program targets and the number of report requested versus the available project. And because of COVID-19, and because this outbreak presented multiple challenges in a program, especially in our program, because we have a lot of operational level. A lot of, and many of our team members also acquired the virus. So this led to health leaves and other absences. So last fiscal year was really challenging.
Susanna, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm getting a lot of feedback from the participants that they're not seeing the slides. So can the technical moderator and the slide presenter please switch the slides so that Susanna's picture is small and the slides are very large?
Okay. Is it better now? Can I continue? Catherine, you let me know.
I'm trying to find out myself because can somebody in the group tell me in chat if it's better?
There's some feedback that it is better now.
Okay, I'm very sorry to interrupt you, Susanna. Oh.
No problem. So I was just concluding that last year was really challenging for us in terms of human resources.
I'm sorry again, but we are getting feedback that that it hasn't changed. So technical moderator, are you able to adjust this, please?
Catherine, come again.
The slides are small and Susanna's picture is very large. It should be the other way around so people can read the slides, please.
Okay. Is it much better?
Yes, great, thank you. Okay.
Okay, so with all these challenges in human resources, and next one, please. We were aware of the situation, so we implemented a mix of solutions. We developed a COVID-19 contingency plan with multiple actions to maintain programmatic interventions as well as the health and safety of the staff. Country security plans were reviewed and updated with emphasis on COVID-19 prevention, and telework or hybrid models became an option to the staff. And we also shift nearly all our operational activities online, including recruitment, training, status meetings, webinars, technical events, performance evaluation and feedback sessions, among others. So we also strengthened the capacity of the team across the region to use Office 365 and other online tools, especially for the field staff that they were not used to all these online tools. And finally, the human resources team also worked to support the staff members on their families who acquired COVID-19 to ensure access to health services and support. Next one. And all these solutions in practice look like this. So we develop our strategic plan with the participation of the team across the region. We hold quarterly all staff meetings, working together so everyone knows what we are doing as an organization and they know our long-term goals. We continue to build capacity. We launched a monthly learning series entitled Aprendiendo con PASMO, Learning with PASMO, where our own team members provide technical and other training topics for all staff to participate across the region. We are flexible. We can work from home and we continue like this, and this motivates, especially in this timing. We listen to what the team says and are involving them in the decision making. And this means more participation. So we also conduct weekly team meetings online. And finally, for fun and sharing activities, for example, the holiday parties last year were organized virtually to support the team morale. So next one, in summary, human resources has been a challenge in our first year as a local organization, and we are working on these challenges. But there also have been many achievements, especially in the learning process and the rapid adaptation in the context of COVID-19. So participatory leadership, teamwork, flexibility, and innovation for us are keys to success. Thank you very much, and this is it.
So thank you very much, Susanna. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the second presentation of this session on hiring and retaining staff. And we'll be talking about some lessons that our project, this is ASSA, has learned for local partners to take home. Next slide. Catherine mentioned a little bit about ASSA and the work that we do, and we can say that so far we have supported 75 local organizations. 51, we have 51 capacity advisors spread across the globe, and who are providing support to the 75 LIPs. We have conducted 45 NGO risk assessments using the NUPAS Plus tool. For those who may not be familiar with the NUPAS tool, is the USAID tool for non-US organizations pre-award assessment. So probably if your organization has already been a prime, so you probably have undertaken this assessment. And we have undertaken 6 government-to-government or G2G risk assessments so far. Next slide, please. And those are pictures of some of our capacity advisors. So we have we've been operating in several countries, and we can see how far we are spread across Africa. We have some countries where they are co-funded, and others that are buy-ins, or we are working in towards having to get them into prime. So those are the countries where we are working in currently. Let's move on. So in our work in supporting the local organization, there are some observations that we have made that relates to the work that the organizations do, and especially in human resources. And we have observed that the LIPs have challenges to competitively attract and retain key staff members. And you are all aware of the key staff members that probably would be the senior leadership, the COPs, the project directors, finance and technical directors of these organizations. And these are very key individuals to the life of the organizations and projects that they are implementing. And why are they having challenges in attracting staff and retaining staff? One is that they are competing with international NGOs who are operating in those countries and who are offering better pay in terms of salaries and the benefits that they pay, and therefore competent staff are easily enticed to join the international organization. And this, like I said, poses a great risk to the LIPs. And having noted that challenge, we carried out a survey to try and find out how deep that problem is, and so that we can also document the extent of the risk, so that the NGOs and also donor community is aware about the risk that that the organizations are facing. Next slide, please. So our survey or salary objective was to document the salary scales for the USAID local implementing partners in all the countries we were and all the organizations we are operating in. And we wanted to compare the salary scales with what the market is having for each of those LIPs and in the countries where they are operating. And of course, we are looking at the market of where NGOs comparators would be found, which included the international NGOs operating in those countries. And we want also to create a profile in terms of a report to each of these LIPs to show them where they stand in the market, and of course summarize the salary levels among the local partners, so that they can be able to compare themselves with the market, and they can make decisions in terms of whether there's anything they need to do in order to become more competitive. Next slide, please. So in our methodology, we developed an online questionnaire which would provide us with the profile information that we have talked about in terms of the organization profile, and also the salaries details that they provide. And we would also look at each and every organization salary scales. We would review it and see how it looks like. And then, of course, we will compare the organization salaries with the latest Batches Group reports. And I'll be talking about Batches Group report in the next slide. So hold your horses if you are not aware about the Batches Group. Maybe go back a little bit. So in our sample size, we had 24 LIPs that confirmed that they will be participating, and they were drawn from 10 countries. And this happened in the month of April 2021. And out of the 24, 16 organizations were able to provide us with their salary scales. Others were uncomfortable, or they were not willing to share their scales. And we used the organizations and as units of analysis, and not individuals or particular positions. Next slide. So if you are not familiar with Batches Group is an international organization which operates within the USAID funded organization. Then they do, among other things, they do salary surveys, especially in the developing countries, and they are operating both in Asia, Africa, and in the Americas. And so far, they are the they provide the most comprehensive data on salaries in countries, and they do have quarterly updates on their website on how the salary markets are looking in each and every country. And if I'm to take an example for the countries that we did the market survey for, you can see that for example, in Cameroon, we had 26 comparator NGOs that had participated. In Kenya, we had 114. In Nigeria, there were 58, Uganda 77, and in Mozambique 46. And from the far right, you can see out of the 26 organizations that participated in Cote d'Ivoire, for example, in Cameroon, you can see the nature of the organizations that participated. Majority of them are definitely drawn from the international organizations. But however, in some countries, we also have a sizable number of local organizations participating. But generally, most of the players in this field are the international organizations. Next slide. So in our survey, we also wanted to find out how big these organizations are, how long they have been in operations, and what is their annual budgets. And you can see in this particular slide, we are showing the annual budget, the average annual operating budget for the organizations that participated over the last 5 years. And you can see majority of them are well beyond $1 million and all the way to $6 million. So there is that can tell you the nature of budgets that they hold. Next slide. We also looked at the staffing levels in each of the organizations, and from the left you can see we are talking about the number of LIPs that had say 1 to 50 employees, and you can see that it ranges from less than 50, and we also looked at even organizations that had over 200 staff on board. So we also surveyed about how their HR practices has been over time, and you can see that in terms of HR practices, majority of them have actually formal salaries in place. Majority of the scales have been in place for more than 2 years, and ASSA capacity advisors who are working in these organizations are currently, and at that time were helping these organizations update and upgrade their scales. And we can also see that for majority of them, they had not had their salaries revised in the last 2 years. 13 out of the 16 or 20 organizations that participated had not revised their pay or revised their scales in the last 3 years. So really meaning that they are still lagging behind in terms of being competitive to the market. Next slide. We also looked at the nature of other fringe benefits that they provide, and also looked at the fringe calculation. I mean, what the percentage of fringe that the organization factor in their budget, and you can see majority are between 10 and 15. However, there are a few others who actually have more than 15% fringe percentage in their calculations. And we also looked at the nature of benefits that they provide, and you can see it's quite the list is long and fewer, and there are although the list of the benefits could be long, that what probably this list is not showing is the amounts for which these organizations are paying for these benefits. So even though the benefits may be there, they may also not be as competitive as those being paid by international organizations. Next slide. We also inquired from the organizations some of the reasons why staff leave their organizations, and of course you can see top on the list is end of projects. When projects end, most organizations tend to lose a lot of staff. However, there is the second most contributor is resignations, and the resignations probably that's where a lot of issues are in terms of people getting a better pay elsewhere. And you can see in some instances, some organizations have kept noted that low pay in those organizations is a key driver. However, some organizations also do not really track reasons for exits. Therefore, so there could be gaps and that exist there. So I am going to just show a few samples of the kind of data we received from the market, and this is an LIP in Cote d'Ivoire. Of course, the names of the organizations have been blocked. You can see from the far left the job titles, and the second column has the current pay, what these organizations are paying, and on the columns that are in orange, you see that it is the first one is showing what is the market at 25th percentile, the second one at the 50th percentile, and we can now, the last two columns are now showing how the pay of these particular organizations is compared to what is the average or the 25th percentile of that market. If, for example, if you look at this particular LIP, you'll note that the chief of party is negative 2% at 25th percentile compared to the market, and at 42% when compared at the same market at the 50th percentile. It is worse for the executive director at 50%. That means that particular position is actually paying 61% less than what an ordinary chief executive is getting paid in similar organizations in that market. So a lot of these numbers are, those two columns are in red and they're in negative, showing that these organizations are actually struggling and they are far off from where the market is, even at the least of the market, which is the 25th percentile. They are still below the 25th percentile. Next slide. If I'm to take another example, this one is from Mozambique. Of course, again, the organization is we have hidden that detail. It is the same trend. You'll see the senior technical teams, they are all in red at 25th percentile and at 50th percentile. That means that should any of these individuals be offered a chance to join any of the international organizations, which would probably be comfortably at the 50th percentile, they would really make a quick decision to move, even where they feel that they are really committed to the organization, but the financial gains from the move may motivate them to move. This situation is a situation in Kenya, and this is a little bit unique because the organization had actually just been provided with funding from USAID. ASSA were able to help them craft their salary scales, which were in line with the market, and you can therefore see that the organizations, this particular LIP is well above the 25th percentile and slightly below the market, the 50th percentile. So it shows that with intervention, there can be some changes in terms of how these organizations can reflect their funding, their skills when compared to the market. Next slide. So this slide shows how these organizations, all these organizations combined across the continent, were faring in terms of the levels of jobs. On the far left, we have the lower jobs, which is between grade 1, what we were calling grade 1 and 4, and these are generally the support roles. And we have the middle pie that shows the mid-level positions that are also mid-level support and technical teams. And then we have the far right, where we have the senior and key positions within the organizations. And you can see from the pie chart that from the far right, that only 30% of the organizations that we participated, who participated in the survey, had been able to at least meet the 25th percentile. 70% of the organizations for those key positions were below the 25th percentile. For mid-level positions, it's almost 50-50, but for lower positions, it's the 40% against 60%. So as you can see from this particular slide, there is a very high risk in the key positions, and these are the individuals who are entrusted with the technical work and the financial and the strategic work of the organization. And when the organizations are not able to keep them or pay them as per the market, there could be turbulence in terms of staff movement in that line. Next slide. So in summary, we noted that a majority of staff in local organizations are paid below the 25th percentile, and that as when we look at the batches salary scale reports. And the majority of international organizations contribute to setting the pace or the market. They are the market leaders in this in most of these markets, because majority of them pay at 50 percentile or higher than the 50 percentile. And we noted that in the local organization, the salary scales are not routinely updated, and therefore, and we know some of the best practices is that that should be done at least every 2 years. So there is, in general, there will be high risk of not being able to attract and retaining technical staff and other key staff within organizations, and this, of course, poses a performance risk in the organizations while trying to recruit or backfill the positions that have been left vacant. In our recommendations, next slide, we are recommending that our donor USAID may consider allowing these organizations to maybe make exceptional salary increases of a couple of years, 2 to 3 years, so that they may be able to catch up with the market and be able to attract technical and competent staff who are currently serving within the international NGOs. And also, we are also thinking out of the box on how salary data can be available to local partners, so that they can be able to remain competitive, because largely majority of them do not actually know what's the market, and where they know they probably don't have the budget for others. There could be many other recommendations, and I'm posing those questions to the participants. Thank you, and we are now welcoming in questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Susanna and Simon, for some really insightful presentations. We do have several questions. Susanna, the first one is for you, and it refers to how do you stop people from poaching from your organization so they can recruit your qualified staff?
Well, it has been really difficult, and at the end we have not been able to compete. So the staff has been let go and back to the recruitment process. So this is especially in some key positions, this has been really a problem for us, and working on that. As I mentioned, we need to revise our salary scale and being able to really compete. I think it's part of the process, and the important thing is to be aware and try to avoid that. Yeah.
Thank you. I think that's reality for a lot of organizations that are successful. To both you and Simon, are there any other monetary and non-monetary strategies you have implemented to retain your staff?
I can answer first, Simon, if you want. Not really. Well, I mentioned some of the non-monetary incentives, like, like this is special, the vacation, for example. We have some dates that are not only local, but some other festivities that people can take. The days of vacation legally are 15, so we are giving 20, but at that level, because again, it's an issue of budget, and also, well, we don't use none other monetary incentives because of the essence of the work we do. So we'll stay with that.
Thank you. Over to you, Simon.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Of course, there are very many initiatives that organizations can do which are non-monetary to try and keep employees engaged and to the organizations and to their jobs. When I talk about staff engagement, is those initiatives that make staff fall in love with what they do and in the organizations they work for. One, you could organization do recognition programs where they recognize good work and reward publicly individuals who have done well. If you are able to create a great place to work where people you have flexible working hours, you are able to consider individuals' special needs. You are able to engage in welfare information and policies that make individuals feel that they are working within a community, they are working for an organization that cares for them. You will be able to do that. Again, if you have a good management practices, where we learned that a lot of people leave organizations because of poor managers. So if you can be able to train your managers to be better people managers, and therefore they are not quote unquote slave drivers, but people who have feelings and empathy of the employees they work for, you'll be able to achieve a little bit of engagement with staff.
Thank you so much. I have another question for both of you. How have you managed to retain expatriate staff paid in foreign currency when the local currency has depreciated, reducing the net pay? Any non-monetary benefits given or any suggestions you have in this situation? Susanna, does this apply to your organization?
Not really. Just to clarify, we don't have expatriates anymore. So all our staff is local. So I guess Simon can comment on that.
Yeah, on this, but in this particular survey, or definitely majority. I mean, I don't think any of those local NGOs have expatriate staff. But I can just mention from my previous experience elsewhere. If you are able to pay your expatriates in hard currency, therefore they are able to hedge against fluctuations within the economies where they are working, especially in developing countries. You'll be able to cushion them against those fluctuations. Definitely, there are other non-monetary benefits that you can, whatever. For example, there could be less working hours or whatever, but and vacation, holiday, and so on. But generally, when you pay your expats with hard currencies, you are definitely cushioning them against fluctuations.
Thank you. Simon, we have a lot of questions directly for the local partner survey. So the first one is about the clinical roles. Did you compare salaries with Ministry of Health in each country, private sector hospitals? We find that nurses and doctors expect us to match what they would be paid within the private sector if they were to stay there as clinicians and not transition to program implementation roles.
The batches survey does not largely include the government employees, and therefore we did not. But from our own experience in the ground is that majority in most of the countries, other than I think South Africa and elsewhere, majority of the other countries, NGOs would pay better than what the government is paying to their local, to their health workers, and therefore there is more movement from government to local partners than the other way around. So I would tend to maybe I may not be 100% sure, but I think that's largely what happens. But we never did our survey with the government clinicians. However, there is also some little data within the batches with how the commercial environment is, but not a lot of data in terms of the private sector.
Okay, thank you. There's some questions on the salary scales. So how often should an organization conduct or review their salary scales? And if you have a project in different countries, do you use just one salary scale?
Good practice is that salary scales should be revised every 2 years, and that's after you have done your survey to find out how the market is. But that's good practice. There could be your organization has policies that says more frequently than that, or probably a little bit, maybe 3 years. However, good practice 2 years. If you're operating in 2 countries, you cannot good practice. You cannot use one scale across the borders. Majority of the times that you find that the market is totally different when you cross borders, and therefore in one of those countries you might be having challenges of trying to attract people, or in another country they might be you might be paying above the market, which will not necessarily the best of the approaches. So when you have operating across borders, always keep a different salary scale for the country for which for the respective country, and I'm sure Susanna can attest to that.
Sure, no, I agree with you. And in our case, because that happens, we have the same position in different countries, but the salaries are aligned to the reality or to the market context in that country. And in our case, we revise the salary scale internally, but we still need to compare it with the market. And that would be the next step. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you, both of you. So there's a question, USAID is funding both the international and the local partner. How do you explain these discrepancies?
Sometimes it's difficult to explain, but sometimes it's a catch-22 for the local partners, where they may be at their initial stages, they don't have as much funding, and therefore and they probably also want to remain very competitive when they are bidding for projects, and therefore they are trying as much as possible to minimize their costs. In so doing, they actually shortchanging themselves, because USAID, as long as you are able to show that you are paying within the market, as long as you are not beyond what that market would be, they would be willing to fund. They actually fund for those positions. So it's the local partners being bold in when they are doing their own, when they are doing proposals, or when they are subbing with the international organizations in their country, to be more fair or more competitive within their own markets. But I'm sure when you don't have those resources at hand, you may very much be tempted to try to squeeze the budget as much as possible.
Thank you. Let me just add to that from my experience as director for ASSA and working with a lot of subrecipients who then become primes. As they were working as subrecipients, they were not given sufficient funds, to grow their organization. They were given sufficient funds to implement the activities. And now in this local partner transition, there is a need to have more funding to grow the organization for sustainability. And it all comes down to the budget that you prepare and present to USAID. So all of the costs need to be captured in that budget. Your escalation for salaries over a 5-year period, your 10% de minimis. A lot of times, if you haven't been getting any type of overhead, you might have been charging everything to the project, or you may not have been. And so you're actually working at a loss because you're using other resources or no resources at all to conduct these activities for growth. So I just want to emphasize it's imperative, you as local partners, to work carefully on your budgets to put in all of the expenses that are needed to implement the activities on behalf of the US government. Okay, so next question, this is very specific. We are a religious organization and we have a problem consolidating a salary scale that takes into account the social aspect of other services and the level of competence of the staff sought in the USAID project. Which advice can you give us? We're still in the transition period and we will soon become a prime.
I guess that's addressed to Simon. Um, yeah, there is those historical challenges, and especially with faith-based organizations where they want, or in their founders projection is that part of the workers will be of course serving in the religion and in faith, and therefore it's part of their service to the people when they are working in the faith-based organizations. However, when you go to the market does not consider those considerations. So you may have to either you are working with the people within your own religion faith who are willing to serve, and we have seen organizations where they have say Catholic nuns serving in those organizations, and yet they may be clinicians, but actually the part of it is voluntary, part of it is service. But when you go to the market unfortunately doesn't consider all those considerations. My advice as you move to become a prime, go to the market, benchmark with the market, and be attractive. Otherwise, you may not be getting the competent staff that would be comfortably be implementing your projects. However, if you have a pool of staff who believe in the conviction of your organizations and they are willing to forego that premium pay in the market, well and good. But the market is the market.
Thank you. And just to add to that question, so we decided to do this market survey when we saw in a couple of organizations that senior level management were hired, and then they moved on to other organizations with higher pay. So all of this was because we saw staff attrition, and we were trying to understand the root cause of that. So one question is about the contract terms. The project contracts are very often signed for a period of 1 year because of the annual nature of the agreement. And this is a strong reason for insecurity of the staff. Do you have these situations, and how do you manage them? Susanna, do you want to answer that? And then Simon?
It is not our case, really. We are a cooperative agreement, and so we haven't had that problem yet.
Okay.
Susanna, it may be coming soon. What I've seen is that organizations, some organizations take a risk, and some organizations take a risk, and they may even be providing a two-year contract. Of course, with exit clauses that says this contract can be terminated either due to funding or either other conditions of employment that may lead to a contract being terminated. There are bigger organizations which have muscle, and they may give even open-ended contracts, but of course with exit clauses. Where you may also be giving annual contracts that are responding to the project. However, that you'll have to face that uncertainty in terms of renewals. However, what I advise organizations is to ensure that you have included in your budget and severance pay in case of contracts that are terminated, and therefore you can be able to convince staff that even though you'll be this is an annual contract, there is a severance, should this contract be terminated, or gratuity, whatever you call it, in your local labor market. So sometimes we have to bite the bullet. Again, majority now of staff who are working in the development organizations and NGOs are aware of these conditions, because they are the same. If they move from NGO A to NGO B, they'll find that it's also an annual project they are implementing. Catherine, what's your experience elsewhere?
No, that is my experience. It's the same. That I think that this is one issue that USAID needs to hear about, that the annual contracts hinders staff retention, because often, you know, people come to the end of their contract and haven't gotten reassurance for future employment, and they may start looking. So let me just take this airspace to say on day 5 of this local partner meeting, so November 5th is a local partner only day, and we will be having some topics for discussion on resources. And so I'd encourage people to come and share their concerns and recommendations. Also, we will be creating a community of practice. ASAP has 3 communities of practice at the moment, and we are adding 3 more. And one of them is on human resources. So you can talk to your peers about what is your situation, share experiences, come up with solutions together, learn about tools like salary scales. So I just wanted to put a plug in for those 2 things, day 5, local partner only meeting, and the communities of practice. I do have a couple more questions though. So one is specifically about the survey. Did you analyze salary survey in terms of types of employment? What was the minimum and maximum contract period?
Unfortunately, we did not analyze the contract periods. So maybe that's a consideration we may do in our next survey, looking at what nature of contracts do organizations provide, both for senior, mid-level, and the support staff.
Really good idea. Then a specific question about Ethiopia. When was the salary survey done in Ethiopia? Was it done before FY21?
I think batches actually they update their skills on quarterly basis. So I know by the time we were doing the survey, we were using the latest data that was available as at 31st of March in Ethiopia. So sometimes what happens is that some organizations are not updating this information with batches every quarter, but would be probably doing it on annual basis or on whatever other basis. But the batches keep on updating their pay and their market data on quarterly basis. So it is very current. If that particular person has any reference, or they have any contacts with the batches, they can actually be able to get that data at the moment, which will be actually be showing the first half of the year.
Okay, and along that note and the comment about birches, I would like to add that we have shared information about birches with USAID and exposing them to the salary scales. As you know, the embassy uses an FSN scale for their employees. So we shared the procedure that a lot of local NGOs and companies use the birches. So that may help in the future in terms of setting salary scales. I have another specific question. This one is from Uganda. The LIP salaries aren't based on market survey, but rather resources available to the LIP at that time. LIPs are worried that setting high salaries may backfire if they run out of funds. A very true sentiment. Susanna and Simon, do you have any advice on that situation?
I think if it is included in the budget, if it is included in the operation budget, and that's the pay that is in the market, I think the organization would, if they are, if it's an annual budget, how would they run out of funds? Yet they have a budget line for salaries, unless we are saying that next year the USAID is not providing grants for that same project, yet you want to retain that staff to do other work for the organization. So setting high salaries will enable you to attract and retain those staff in the first place. However, lower salaries, you may retain the person, but probably are you retaining the best person in the organization? Maybe the best person will actually be taken by the organization next door. Susanna?
Yeah, I agree. I think that the first step is the salary scale. I think that can be included and budgeted and discussed with the USAID. In our case, that would be our next step, because we already prepared our internal scale by country, and now we need like the market one. And with that, we will have a guideline to really define the best salary for different positions. And I think that definitely salary makes a difference in addition to the other things that I commented, the culture, other benefits that we may offer. And that is how we will work on that. Also important in our case is that we are conscious that we cannot depend 100% in one donor. So we are working on our, it's part of our strategic plan, our sustainability plan. And that means other means to really get the funds and to work on that. So we are in that process. We are just starting our second year, and those are part of the plans.
Thank you. So I have a couple of comments, and not questions, but important comments. So one comment is the annual contracts for employees make it impossible for staff to access financial loans, as the banks think that they are not in a stable employment. Maybe that is a statement that merits a comment back from both you, Susanna, and Simon. Any advice on that situation? Any experiences with that?
Yes, I have experience in that, where, of course, commercial banks, they want to see sustainability of income, yet the contracts that organizations are giving are annual in nature. And that's why I said some organizations actually do provide longer than whatever, but of course with exit clauses. Where if the organization takes a firm stand on annual contracts, then there must be some of those as trade-offs that they have to do, where staff may feel that they are not very well catered for. Their needs are not being well catered for in those organizations.
Thank you. And then there's another comment. The balance between salary and field activities needs to be in good shape, because the local partners are delivering the services to the beneficiaries. So I hope I've asked all the questions that have been posted. If you don't
there's one on how do you manage local staff salaries given in local currency fluctuations? Can you pay in USD? Do you have to pay in local currency? I think, I don't know whether there is those guys who are familiar with the rules and regs whether there is, I think there is a clause on payments of locals in local currency. But what I have seen organizations do, there are some organizations that they will pay in local currency, but they will keep on pegging the local pay to the dollar, maybe make annual adjustments to reflect the dollar, and that probably would be in collar. Others would do on 6 monthly basis, and I know of a few that does it on quarterly basis. So you'll pay in local currency, but you can actually try to benchmark against the dollar.
Yeah, just adding to that, we pay in local currency and we budget in US dollars and using like an average rate to make sure that we are like covering everything.
Okay, while you were talking, a couple more questions and comments came in. The one is adoption of the FSN scale for LIP will position the LIPs to get skilled people and retain them, just like the international partners, but it will increase the cost of doing business, negating one of the reasons for adopting LIPs. What are your thoughts? So there has been a common assumption is that LIPs can conduct the work more cost efficiently. However, I do think that in doing things like the salary survey, it's indicating that not all the costs are covered and that salaries aren't at the highest level or the mid-level that they could be. But let me open that up to you, Simon, about adopting the FSN scale, and then to Susanna.
Yeah, the FSN scale is one, just I think it should be one of the information other than the only thing that you are pegging your pay on. Of course, you want to compare yourselves to organizations who are doing the similar work, people who you recruit from, or people where you are organizations where your people go to. So I would say expand your market further than FSN. Because FSN might be, and in most instances, is slightly above. It will be above market. So enlarge your survey beyond one single organization, which is in this case the USAID FSN. And in some countries, the FSN skills are not even available for you to see. So it becomes, if that's what you're pegging on, you may get it through third parties and you're not sure whether it is authentic. So it's not always available for you to see.
Okay, so we're at the end of time. There's 2 more minutes. If anybody has a last question, if you could put it into the chat, we could quickly address it. I would like to thank Susanna and Simon for your great presentations. I think this has been a really interesting conversation, a very important one, and one that needs to continue happening in the local partner transition space. I think it's very important for all people involved in the transition to be aware of the salary discrepancies and inequities between international partners and local partners, so that as USAID is building the capacity of local partners, they're building on a foundation that will enable them to be sustainable in the future and not just project-based. So with that, we can close the meeting. Again, thank you, Susanna and Simon, and thank you, Tech Change, for moderating and for the translators. It's been a great session. The next session is going to be also wonderful. It's with the administrator, where local partners will be asking questions. So stay tuned, and I hope to see you there. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.